Yo, so I just want to point out this is therapy for us all. Like week in, week out. We look forward to it. Listen,
Fellas,
it's
it's
just
gonna
so,
be one of them nights.
it's going to be, I'm telling you. You guys are pretty hard to find. It's like the CPA and like people that are CPAs just aren't out there, or like it's a dying field. So go ahead. I mean, you was explaining a little bit about the industry.
Accounting, obviously you want to do like public accounting because any type of experience you can learn, you're going to learn it from obviously accounting firms. And there was always, the safe bet is always to get a job with an accounting firm. But it seemed like just from the people I know and just from the, different friends I've worked with over the years, they've chosen to go private because, ever since like COVID, some of the hours and the demand has been tough on a lot of people, especially those with families, and different things of that nature. And just you've noticed like people just don't want to do certain things anymore. They just don't want to do the certain demands anymore. Whether that's I don't know certain reasons for it, but they just don't want to, do the demands for it anymore.
This is the kind of conversation that I have with these guys year in year out. Every time
Hmm.
these W-2s come around, and
Hmm.
I thought it would be a good conversation to kind of put on the pod. That we all have like LLCs, and we try to all get around different things, like as far as saving our receipts. Like we hear the typical things like, oh, save your receipts through the year, and do these different things.
Right.
Saving receipts never benefited me because it's like, oh, you only need them if they audit you.
Right.
But I haven't been audited, so I'm like, why am I keeping tab of all these receipts? Is this a waste of time for real? So
The quick question, like, do you have like a bookkeeping system? Like, do you use like QuickBooks or something like that to keep track of like your expenses or anything like that?
I don't, but Mo, I think Mo better. I think he does.
Okay.
I just mentioned it last week,
Yeah,
and
he mentioned it last week.
and Phil for the group. I've been audited. Keep your receipts.
Yeah, I was just about to say you want to keep it at least like anywhere between I'd say like I think it's like 3 to 7 years or something like that. You want to keep your receipts just in case. I mean, when you say like you've never been audited, you never know. You might run across that one time they're gonna pick you out, and it could be some for some odd weird reason. Like they could say, all right, you live in this neighborhood, certain refunds are high and yours is not, or your expense for this is high, or certain things are in job, and we just want to check to make sure you're legit. That's all.
So I think that's pretty dope. I think one of the things that is going to be a common theme for me on this show is don't be like Mo. Is this like in my mind? I was always asking these types of questions because I was trying to game the system.
Hmm.
And essentially what ended up happening was it like literally actually I knew one that was a 30-year IRS employee, and in my head all she said was anything under $1,000 they'll never audit you for.
Right.
That wasn't the entire message, but that's all I heard.
Yeah.
So literally, so I'm going through life for years doing that type of thing. Anything $1,000 or under, oh, I'll never get audited for, it won't be an issue. And for a property that I had actually sold previously, they came back and audited me. It was like 2 years later because they can go 2 years in arrears.
Hmm.
And literally, I didn't have this stuff anymore. Once I sold the property, I got rid of everything. And it was something as small as I didn't sign something. And they were looking for, hey, we need this. I didn't have it. Cost me 10 grand out of my pocket.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, but obviously, if you make more, just certain things you could always look into just to gain a lot more.
I guess I can say the less you make to them is
Right. Yeah. Correct. Hmm.
you know what I'm saying. So if you make 100, you want to show them you make 50.
Correct. If you can, yeah. So if you
Yeah,
make
if you
a
can.
yeah, if you make 100, that's when you'd be like, all right, I paid, this. I paid like a subcontractor to do this work. I paid this guy to do this work. I paid legal fees. I paid filing fees. I paid all these other fees, or I might have paid a guy for. I had to buy some new equipment, new computers, or something like that.
Or these things that,
Oh god.
how people buying these G wagons? What's
Yeah,
going on with that?
yeah. See that's a little too pricey. I mean, you don't want to be doing something like that because that could lead you to get audited a little bit. I mean, I always play it safe. Not saying that you can't do it, but I tend to try to play it safe. Like
But
if you,
I've been
okay,
hearing that that's a social media thing all the
that's so.
time.
I wouldn't risk it. It's just a way for them to just audit you. They could be doing it completely right, but it just raises the biggest red flags because they'll be like, well, what the hell are you driving this type of car? What type of business are you doing?
Right. So is there more to just the weight to write it off?
Yeah, so if you bought a car, you said, all right, I need this to for my business. I'm a traveling salesman. I have to travel across state lines. You might not be able to write the full usage of the car yet, but over the period of the loan or whatnot, you can write off the full value of the car. If she's I mean, if she's a subcontractor, maybe, but I doubt it.
That's I mean I've seen that somewhere too. Like you can write off a fresh pair of boobies.
You could. I mean, listen. I mean, not to be rude, but exotic dancers, right? Or even adult actresses. If they're subcontractors, that's part of their job, right? Their appearance, their work appearance. So, I
So
mean, it's.
does it work for like in like a exotic dancer as well, or does it work for like a waitress?
I mean, no, it won't. It won't work for waitress. I'm just saying, like, for people who are in that line of business,
Yeah,
it could
yeah,
it could work. It could work for them to say, hey, look,
Shoe models.
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
You can say it. I mean, you could just say, "Hey, look. I mean, this is part of my materials, my work attire. I need this,
Here,
so
write it off.
write it off."
My productivity went up 69%.
I actually been thinking about getting some dental work. Right. So can I is that something I can write off? Like is a medical expense?
If you're able to itemize, you might be able to, yeah. Because
So
any doctors, dentist payments, if you're able to itemize, you should be able to write it off. I
so
don't
medical
know.
expenses go in that bucket of things I can like kind of like, hey, I paid these medical expenses, whatever.
Might be able to, yeah. If you're able to itemize, that's the only thing.
What you mean? What you
Yeah,
mean
that's
by
what I was
that?
going to ask. And that's what I was
So
going to ask, Phil, because with the standard deduction being elevated now,
yeah,
I haven't been able to itemize anymore, and that's how I ended up with that $10,000 to $20,000 that I had to pay out of pocket.
because
So
it
how do
used
we get to that threshold?
Because the thing I would say, it used to be right before like the Trump laws changed. How the old standard used to be, if you obviously own the home, but if you paid a lot in real estate taxes or mortgage interest, that's the clear way of telling you be able to itemize. But now, being that there's a cap on real estate taxes, unless you're paying like a high percentage in like mortgage interest, it's very hard to get over that threshold to be, to itemize. The only way is if you contribute a lot of money, if you donate a lot of money, if you have like odd like weird contributions. I think in the next couple of years they're bringing back the old real estate tax rule, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
So you mean if I'm paying a high amount of interest, let's say I got bad credit and bought a house,
Right.
right? I can
hmm
write I can write that off. What or at what percent could I write it off?
For your new house.
Yeah, if I bought a new house, but let's say I have bad credit, right? So I got a terrible rate on my house.
So dependent, like say if let's just say if you bought the house for like under, we'll just say under 750, because if you go over a million, the interest limit gets limited. So depending on how much you paid as far as the interest, the mortgage, was it the mortgage points, the interest points and all that, it all, you'll be able to write that off. Not so much the purchase of the house, but you'll be able to write that off. And
I,
different taxes, obviously the real estate property taxes paid throughout the year.
so
You'll be
it doesn't matter what my interest rate is if I can write it off. Is that what you're
you,
saying?
yeah, you can write it off.
So I can go in. I go into a bad deal, get any house I want,
You
and be
can
like,
write
all right, whatever the interest is, whatever the interest is, bang, I'm
right,
writing it off.
right. So whatever, obviously that mortgage payment you make, however much you spent in interest that year, you'll be able to write that off.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah,
Mo,
you'll
you
be
know
able.
that being in real estate.
Yeah, I do, but I mean, you got to buy a lot of house to get
Yeah,
to that
that's what.
threshold, though.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? So you got to buy
yeah.
a lot of house.
What you mean? What's the threshold? What do you mean by that? Is you?
So
I
like
see you said 750. I was like, that's a big number, right? So like,
So like the no, well, I was saying like the I mean, Mo can correct me, but like what the threshold is, so the standard I think this year has gone up to like 14 or 15,000, and it used to be like, oh, I'm sorry, if you're single. For married, I forget, I don't have it in front of me, but
it's
it's up a lot.
double,
It's double that,
right? So
but
it's 30,000 and whatever.
right.
So I got to
So
itemize thirty
you got
thousand dollars
yeah, you got to come up with over 30 grand, and like
an
I mean,
interest. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
interest. Yeah,
in
it's
interest alone.
you would have to own like a big mansion pretty much for you to get that huge interest payment, or live in a state that has like where I'm at that has ridiculous property tax interest rates.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
So like, so it's not a. So I can't like itemize my dental stuff and then in my therapy stuff and then itemize the house. Does that count to the threshold? Is there one threshold I'm trying to get to with everything I have?
yeah. And so if you say to yourself, all right, if it's 30,000, you have to say, all right, I have to spend so much just to get to just to get to this point. And like I said, if there wasn't a cap on real estate taxes, it was easier for a lot of people, but that ain't the case anymore. Because what they did was, the reason why it's so higher is there used to be exemptions people used to get, but they added that back into like the standard deduction. So they're trying to say, all right, they're trying to make it a lot easier for people to take the standard. Mm.
look, man, I know some people, man, that they considered that their student loan payment for the year once they went ahead. Like, that's not the way that works. But yeah, I can't answer that either. I don't know where it goes, but I know the IRS will come in. They'll take that refund, but I don't think you can actually just say, okay, well, that's coming off the principal. I don't think that's the way that works.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been owing. I mean, we literally just stopped owing the IRS this year. They was taxing us every single goddamn year for the past 7, 8 years, man. We was getting hit hard. We just finally, um, we just finally got over that hump, and that's because I just got solar panels on my crib last year. I think I got, yeah, it's 2022. Yeah, I just no, it's 2023. So I just got solar panels in 2021. So man,
With
the
the
solar
energy.
panels, yeah, that energy credit up here, man, it got me out of the hole because man, we was in every single year, man. They kept hitting us, and that's like I've been dealing with CPAs for like I don't know at least 20 years. So I had a CPA I was dealing with down